All right, you're on the spot. What is the best place to live here in Fort Lauderdale? Let me know in the comments down below. It's a tough question, isn't it? But that's a question that we get asked quite a bit when people are looking to move to Fort Lauderdale and South Florida in general. So we ask them, okay, what's the most important thing to you then? And we hear all different kinds of things like, I want to be where the boating's at. I want to live on the water. I don't want to have to go to a marina. I want to live near the beach. I want to live near downtown. I want to live where the action's at, but I also don't want to be on top of my neighbor. So what's the best place to live here in Fort Lauderdale? Well, that's a loaded question, but you're in luck because in today's video, we're going to talk about 10 of the best places to live here in Fort Lauderdale and what makes each one of them so special. Honestly, it's not so easy to just be like, yep, this is number one. This is the best place to live here in Fort Lauderdale. While I definitely could do it based on what I like, it just depends on what you like as well. So we're gonna talk about each one of these different areas and what makes them really unique at the end of the day. We're gonna talk about a couple neighborhoods on the water, a couple that are close to the beach, some that are close to shopping, dining, and downtown, some that have a great walkability, but they're not necessarily right near downtown, as well as some of the great suburbs here in Fort Lauderdale. And make sure you stick around to the end because we're gonna be answering some of the questions that we get asked the most about living here in Fort Lauderdale, like are there new construction options? What are some of the best marinas? Are there areas that are up and coming still, or is Fort Lauderdale pretty much built out? And if you or anyone you know are looking to buy or sell here in Fort Lauderdale or South Florida in general, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can call us, email, text us, DM us, whatever's easiest for you, we got you. But now let's talk about the best places to live here in Fort Lauderdale. Okay, let's start off with one of my personal favorites, and that's Rio Vista, or as some call it, Rio. And this is one of the more affluent communities and places that we're looking at today. And it is a great mix of everything from your modern gargantuan home on the water all the way to more traditional style homes as well. And there are some homes on the water, speaking of that, and there are also some homes that are not on the water, but it is a very tight-knit community at the end of the day. It does have a suburban type feel to it, while also being right around all the action. You can get out to the beach really quickly off 17th Street, you can head downtown, or you can hop right there on 95. On top of that, you do have great access to shopping and dining options, everything from Publix, Zona Fresca, and even Gilbert's 17th Street Grill. Next up, we have Las Olas Isles, which honestly could be a step up from Rio. Most of these homes are a little bit larger, and a good portion of them are on the water as well. The big draw to Las Olas Isles is number one, you're on the water, so easy access to the intercoastal, especially if you're a boater or just like living on the water. You can walk to the beach right there off of Las Olas. It's an easy walk. Most people though have a golf cart, and you have great access to downtown as well. Speaking of downtown in the Las Olas area, you're going to love this next place, and that's Coley Hammock. This is the perfect area for someone who wants to live on the water or around the water. They also want to have great access to downtown, and they want to be able to walk to everything. They don't want to have to drive, they don't want to take a golf cart, nothing, and you can do that. On top of that, there's a good mixture of single family homes, along with townhomes and a couple condos here as well. All right, some people are gonna hate this, but I'm gonna lump in three different neighborhoods into one on this, and it's the Tarpon River, Sailboat Bend, and Riverside Park areas. And honestly, right now, this is probably the best bang for your buck. A lot of people used to view it as the starter home only area, and then like, hey, I'm gonna upgrade, I'm gonna move out, and I'm gonna go to one of these other places on the list. But honestly, recently, more and more people are like redoing homes here. They're living here a long time. They're not looking at it as just a starter home or just an investment property. Meanwhile, there are plenty of different opportunities within it, which make it really, really nice. On top of that, it is all deep water access. So if you want to live on the water, but you don't want to pay a premium, you can be back here because there are no fixed bridges, hence the name Sailboat Bend. A lot of people keep their sailboats back here. With that being said, there's also great amenities within all three neighborhoods as well, including that of parks and great breweries like Tarpon River Brewing and Riverside Market. I don't know if Riverside Market technically counts as a brewery because it's fridges full of beer, but it's still a really cool thing to go and check out. Next, let's talk about an area where if you want to live in Fort Lauderdale, but you don't want to live near downtown, but you love Pompano too, but you don't want to live in Pompano, let me introduce you to Imperial Point. So Imperial Point probably has one of the best suburban type feels of all the areas on the list today. And Imperial Point's on the northern end of Fort Lauderdale, just that bordering Pompano. So that's why I was talking about that before. People really love living here, number one, for the atmosphere overall, but also the access to Pompano, shopping and dining options. It's easy to get to the beach. It's really easy to get around in general. Most of the homes here too are a little bit larger, so they like that. And it's right near a lot of the schools around it. So like Pinecrest, you have WA, as well as Cardinal Gibbons. Speaking of Cardinal Gibbons, let's talk about Coral Ridge because Cardinal Gibbons is located in Coral Ridge. And most people know it as Coral Ridge Country Club. But no. It's not like that country club that you're thinking like those in Boca. This is not mandatory, so don't worry. However, you can join it if you want to. They have a golf and tennis membership, a tennis membership, or just the social membership. So if that's your thing, you can definitely do it. But the big draw to Coral Ridge is a lot of the homes, they have homes on the water, they have homes on the golf course, and they have homes that are just, not on anything, but they're all within that same vicinity. So it's great for people who, want to walk throughout the neighborhood. It's still a very tight-knit community, kind of similar to that of Rio. There's also, you have Bayview Park right in there. So there's a lot of cool different things. You have Cardinal Gibbons right there. And you're really easy to get around. You can take Bayview all the way through over to the mall, or you can just get off on Commercial and head down to Lauderdale by the Sea, and you have great access to the beach. Next, this area is absolutely booming, and I'm probably the most bullish person on it, and that's Pompano Beach and Lighthouse Point. So obviously a little bit different, I'm putting them together because they're right there. Lighthouse Point's a step above Pompano, but Pompano's on the come up. There's a ton of money and development coming to Pompano. They just redid the pier, the fishing village, downtown, Ritz is coming. I mean, there's a lot of money being dumped into Pompano. And if you want to live on the water and you don't want to break the bank, you want to stay under, maybe $1.5 million, 1.2 million, Pompano is going to be the spot for you. You can find plenty of different options. There's everything from teardowns to completely redone homes as well. Lighthouse Point, on the other hand, is probably a step above Pompano, but just a step below Boca. So if you love Boca, but you don't love the Boca prices, Lighthouse Point's your next best option, plus it's right there. And if you love boating and you love being on the water, living in Lighthouse Point is going to be the spot for you. Almost, I would say a good majority of the homes here in Lighthouse Point are on the water, plus you have great access to the Lighthouse Point Inlet. Now let's talk about Oakland Park. Oakland Park, I feel like, is probably one of the most overlooked areas because it gets overshadowed by obviously Fort Lauderdale, and then for some reason it also gets overshadowed by Wilton Manors. But Oakland Park's really a great place to live. It's got a small city type feel to it. They have a great brewery scene and food scene. So one of my favorite breweries here in South Florida is Funky Buddha. I mean, you can go over to Funky Buddha, you can watch the game, hang out. They have great food. You can grab a couple different beers. Their Funky Buddha Floridian is probably one of my favorite beers of all time. And then they also have different games and things that you can play. So it's a great time. Plus, if that's not your spot, there's plenty of other options all along Dixie as well. Last but certainly not least, we have Sea Ranch Lakes. So if you love Lauderdale by the Sea, but you want something a little bit more private, Sea Ranch Lakes is going to be the spot for you. It is a gated community, and actually the only gated community on this list. And now thinking about it, there's not a ton of gated communities overall in general throughout Fort Lauderdale. And the big draw to Sea Ranch Lakes is there's two parts to it. So there's one side, the neighborhood with all the homes, and it's all single family homes within this neighborhood, and a couple of them are on the water as well. But the other part, which really makes Sea Ranch Lakes that much better, is the beach club. So Sea Ranch Lakes does have a beach club directly across the street for the residents, and I remember going all the time in high school and growing up, especially during prom, homecoming, any dance, you can pretty much expect us to be there taking pictures. So those are the best places to live here in Fort Lauderdale. But don't worry, we're not done yet. I promise you we'd answer some of the questions that we get asked the most. So let's start with the first one. Are there new construction options? So yes, there are a ton of new construction options. They're just probably not what you're thinking. So when people usually ask about new construction options, they're meaning like that of Lennar, D.R. Horton, these large single family home communities. While we really don't have much of those, we do have a lot of spec homes, especially in Rio. You'll see a ton of these. Coral Ridge, most of the homes on the water end up being spec homes as well. We don't have a ton of brand new townhomes or townhome communities. We do have one-offs, and they build them as duplexes. But the main thing that we do have when it comes to new construction is new construction condos, because we are really trying to catch up to that of Miami. We do have a lot of great projects in the works here in Fort Lauderdale. They're going to be absolutely amazing once they're completed, with things like the Pier 66 residences, Celine, Sage, and Dari, and even 6 in Rio. Now onto our next question. What are some of the best marinas here in Fort Lauderdale? And honestly, you'll be surprised. People actually love taking their boat and keeping it in the marina, even people who live on the water, because it just makes it that much easier. You literally just show up, you bring ice, beer, and food, and you just head out and you come back, and they wash it, take care of it, do everything, put it away in dry storage. It's not out in the sun getting beat up. So that's a big thing for a lot of people. Personally, I'd rather just live on the water, keep it in the backyard, put it on the lift, but to each their own. So what are some of the best marinas? So we have that of the F3 Marina, Lauderdale Marina, Bahia Mar, Las Olas Marina, and even Pier 66. I will say if you're anything east of Federal, it is going to be a little bit more expensive than that of something west of Federal. And I have found if you're looking for the best bang for your buck, sometimes keeping it in a marina in Pompano can be a little bit cheaper than keeping it in Fort Lauderdale. However, you just have to do what's best for you. Now, if you're looking to be an investor or you're just looking to make a savvy purchase, you might be asking, okay, what's the best up and coming area here in Fort Lauderdale? So if I had to pick 2 of them, I'd probably go back to the 2 of them that were actually on our list. Number 1 being that of Pompano. Like I said, I'm probably the most bullish person on the planet about Pompano. I heard someone say it's not Pompano anymore, it's Pampa, yes. I'm not that crazy, but there's a lot of money being dumped in here. Plus, I think some of the margins on those homes, if you're looking to flip, might make the most sense. In terms of other areas, the next one I would probably go with has to be that Tarpon River, Sailboat Bend, Riverside Park area. I just see a lot of opportunity within it, especially if you're buying some of these single family or starter single family homes and kind of just doing a live-in flip and just fixing it up on your own. Then you plan to refi it or keep it as an investment property in the future, which is probably your best bet. And then this last question really doesn't have to do with anything neighborhood-wise, but a lot of people ask, what's the best sports bar here in Fort Lauderdale? So I think that's a great question. Obviously, you gotta go to Flanagan's, you gotta check it out. It's a South Florida staple, but we do have some other great options as well. American Social is great to go and watch the game. The Den is really cool to watch the game. I'm trying to think where else. Boat Campers, right there on the water. That's a great spot. And if you're a Birds fan, obviously you gotta go to the Parrot Lounge. So after listening to that, let me know in the comments, where do you think is the best place to live here in Fort Lauderdale? And if you're still like, dang, I really don't know what's the best place to live in Fort Lauderdale. I really like some aspects of this, I like some aspects of this, but I also want this. Shoot us a text, give us a call, email me, whatever's easiest for you, we got you. We wanna help you and be able to find the best spot for you. And if you're looking to buy or sell anywhere here in Fort Lauderdale or South Florida in general, we'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. Call me, email me, text me, DM me, whatever's easiest for you, we got you.